This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to this week's edition of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Adam the Jock Straczynski. On today's show, WWE may have found its newest star to build around, and AEW and WWE targeting each other's talent. We're going to talk about all of that in the news and notes segment. We've got some stuff going on with Liv Morgan and Dirty Dom. MJF is back. We got to break it all down. Help me sort through the fray and all of the mess is the one. He's the only. He is the Doc, John Macaroon. What's up, cuz?
Nice week of wrestling, AEW and WWE heading into pay-per-views. Lots to get into, storytelling galore, feuds emerging. AJ Styles is a badass mofo. It's crazy times, man. It was a good week.
Yeah, it was a good week of wrestling. And look, it kicked off with a hot week on Monday night when we had Liv Morgan following up on, we call it a botch. I don't know. Maybe it was all planned. WWE social media just kind of going through the roof with the kiss that was missed on last week's Monday Night Raw. Liv Morgan and Dirty Dom. Liv Morgan really moving in on Dominic Mysterio as well as the Judgment Day. And because of all of this, this kind of was a bit of a filler week for Monday Night Raw and for SmackDown. I'm anticipating next week being a really good week of programming because we're going to have the go home show for the Clash at the Castle. I kind of wanted to get your take on how you would book Liv Morgan and Dirty Dom, as well as wrapping in the Judgment Day, because I feel like there's a lot you could do here, right? Liv Morgan, obviously, the revenge tour, it's in full effect. She's looking to basically take out everything that Rhea Ripley held dear. They end up working in the injury angle, making it a thing where Liv Morgan took Rhea Ripley out. Liv Morgan ends up with Rhea Ripley's title. Does Liv Morgan end up with Rhea Ripley's man? And does she end up in Rhea Ripley's spot in the Judgment Day? If you had the pencil, how would you do all of this? Because I could see a path where they do all of that.
Yeah, it's crazy. Clearly, Liv is trying to get under the skin of Rhea Ripley. They're still trying to keep the undertones of Rhea, even though she's hurt, knowing that, hey, nobody messes with my Dom. So it's crazy to see that Liv Morgan now, as somebody that's a title holder, is getting her hooks into Dom. I just think that she should manipulate Dom and cost him stuff when he comes back from injury. And it may cost him the Judgment Day. It may cost him down the road. This is something that could be a long-term thing where he's in a title match and Liv's music periodically plays, or she's always around. Just kind of that individual that's just kind of like, I know people don't like it, but kind of like that stalker, but maybe not in the way that is like, trying to destroy your family or stuff like that, but just trying to destroy your career. If he, eventually, if I can't have him, nobody can. And I think that Dom is going to be effed. Or it's just a way to piss off Rhea to heat up the feud when she comes back. But it's great all the way around in regards to the way in which Dom is trying to escape, what's going on with Liv. And then, unfortunately, when Dom tried to get involved in the title match, it ends up having Liv now have the championship. So it's good storytelling, and it's going to be great to see. What are your thoughts on maybe something crazy or outside the box that they could do?
Yeah, I would go long-term with this, and I would have basically Liv Morgan fawning all over Dominic Mysterio and basically getting in his head and having Dom start to fall in love with her. And she uses this little bit of a love affair and kind of manipulates him. And he ends up, again, doing a lot of her dirty work. She needs help in a match. He's the one who's out there interfering for her. He needs help with something else. He's recruiting guys from the Judgment Day to assist in all of that. Next thing you know, she's kind of an honorary member of the Judgment Day. She's not really in the Judgment Day, but she all of a sudden is in the back room with them. She's holding court with them. She's going over different strategies with them on how to win matches and who's going to do what. And before you kind of know it, she has a leadership position in the Judgment Day. And just as she's really kind of sinking her teeth into the Judgment Day and into Dominic Mysterio. Rhea Ripley walks through that door and is like, what the hell, guys? I was gone for a little bit, and this is what I come back to. And I think there's your spinoff. There's your story. That's your big story coming out of SummerSlam, and that can take you all the way to WrestleMania. And that's the direction I would go. And really and truly, in the middle of all of this, Dominic Mysterio is just kind of this pawn that is being used by Liv Morgan. I think it would set up for a really interesting storyline, not just one for Liv Morgan, but you'd be able to wrap the guys from the Judgment Day in. You would set up a monster feud for Rhea when she comes back. And again, that'll take you to WrestleMania. And on top of it, it'll make Dominic Mysterio a sympathetic character. Ever since Dominic Mysterio has basically taken on this persona, he's been anything but sympathetic. So give you a little bit of a different direction for Dominic Mysterio, and I think it would be really, really interesting.
Now, wait. Here's a thought.
Yeah.
Would you consider just having Liv replace Rhea Ripley, and then Rhea can go up on her own? Because Rhea can be a megastar, and she can feud with Liv over the anger that she feels over someone taking her spot, taking Dom, taking the spot, and maybe Damian Priest decides, you know what, Liv's the champ, you are gone, you are the weak link, I'm tired of the demands that Rhea's making to be the leader, and they kick her out. I think that'd be kind of interesting if Dom, the ultimate swerve, the ultimate heel shit, would be Dom pretending when Rhea returns to have her back. They're in a match, and Dom turns around and clotheslines Rhea, and Liv is the newest member of the Judgment Day, and they just beat the shit out of Rhea. And now Rhea's going to be ultra popular, and Liv and Dom get more heat on them, and I think that has a chance to play as well.
Yeah, no, I think that would be great. You would end up having you'd end up turning Rhea face, which I think she's a better baby face than she is probably a heel. Correct. I mean, she's a great heel, but I think as a baby face, she'd be unreal. No, I think that's a great way to book it. I think that'd be fantastic. Now, Liv Morgan is basically in the Judgment Day, and we talked about for months about Damian Priest probably being the guy to break away, but maybe it's Rhea Ripley, the one that breaks away from the Judgment Day and goes on about her own business. So I absolutely love that. I think that'd be fantastic if they could get that to work. That would be great. On Friday night on SmackDown, we had Solo Sikoa basically establishing his own command and his own version of the bloodline. Paul Heyman was forced to come out and basically tell you that Solo is now the head of the table. These are all things going on. It really does feel like Solo's pulling a lot of strings without Roman Reigns being there. And it doesn't look like Paul Heyman's been able to get a hold of Roman Reigns, so he can't confirm any of the things that Solo's telling him. And Solo, obviously being the very intimidating guy that he is, has Paul Heyman shook. And look, Paul Heyman does a great job with his character and with his role. Does a fantastic job delivering what he's got to deliver. I wanted to get your thoughts on this version of the bloodline, this Solo Sikoa led version with Tama Tonga as his right hand man and Tonga Loa as the enforcer on this version of what is this new, I don't know, we want to call it Bloodline 3.0. What's your take on it? Because I feel like this is we talked about this before, this is a more deadly, a more lethal, a more intimidating bloodline than we've seen with Roman Reigns at the head of it. This one right here, there is no Jimmy and Jay. There is no comedy with it. There is no Sami Zayn with this. We are here, and we're here to fuck shit up, and we're going to do it by any means necessary. And these guys all look like ruthless killers. Now, coming out of the match that they had on SmackDown, I don't think they necessarily look like ruthless killers. This match ended in a DQ when Solo took a chair to Montez Ford's back. Look, I wanted to see them just hungry animals, just devouring Kevin Owens and the Street Profits. I don't think this match really did anything to help elevate them. But I guess this is your first feud. This is your first big feud. So let's go. This is going to end up, I think, culminating at Clash of the Castle next week. But what's your thoughts on this version of the Bloodline? How would you maybe elevate these guys? Because I think right now, this version of the Bloodline is not on that level of what Roman Reigns was. I feel like this one, it feels like it's all reaction. It's all just kind of ground and pound. There's nothing cerebral about this. I felt like when Roman Reigns was there was always like a thinking man in the chair. Now, yes, he was deadly, but he was always thinking and he was always plotting. He was always playing chess while everybody else was playing checkers. I feel like with Solo, and maybe that's the way it's supposed to be. I feel like with Solo, it's very reactionary. It's very, I'm going to punch first, ask questions later. I just kind of want to get your take on what you're seeing right now.
Yeah, no doubt. It's unique and it's still early. And so you don't want to just start giving them monster moments, monster domination. It's still in that, what is this kind of thing? How is it going to be established? So Solo now has to kind of establish clearly his mission of what they're trying to accomplish. And it kind of feels like, too, that when Roman Reigns was there, it was the top of the card. And right now on SmackDown, there's another angle that's a lot higher up that is a little bit more important. So it's basically setting the stage for what's going to come back in the future. So it's like you said, a lot of intermediate feuds. It's a lot of establishing that, hey, this is what we're about. And moving forward, you just got to continue to move up the ranks. And so the Street Profits is great. You have opportunities there and you move up the card and you handle who you need to handle, whoever's in the way. But yeah, you're right. It's kind of like, unfortunately, it's a sequel. And everybody loves the original, but Bloodline 2 is going to be okay, but right now it's not going to be viewed, or it's not at the level of what it was when it was involving Sami Zayn and the destruction and when Sami turned and the breaking apart of the Usos. So that was the culmination. So now it's basically the second game of a doubleheader in a baseball game, and the first game ended, and it was a good game, and now everyone's tired, they're hungover a little bit, and they still got to get their wits about them and get their things back. So, it'll be interesting to see, and I'm just going to take a wait-and-see approach with the Bloodline 2.0, but it's upper mid-level interest, but again, there's other things that are way more interesting right now than the Bloodline, and that's okay, and that's up to WWE and the new Bloodline to get everybody more interested and to establish what they're going to be about.
Yeah, I think this just kind of has some slow roots growing, and I think it will be good. It's just going to be interesting to see. Look, there was thoughts that Roman Reigns is going to come back by SummerSlam, so approximately 2.5 months out before Roman Reigns reappears. I think this version, Roman Reigns coming back and walking into this version of the Bloodline, I think makes for a lot of interesting stories that could happen from it. Recently, Roman Reigns was pulled off of some advertising material for that SmackDown before SummerSlam. So I don't know if he'll be back by then. I'm not sure what's going to actually take place. They may have to do some stuff where they kind of have to kick this out a little bit longer and kind of establish a little bit more down the road. But it's what I would like to see is a little bit of development out of Solo, right? Like we know Solo. Everybody's getting introduced to Tama Tonga and Tangaloa. I think you do a little bit of growth with Solo. That's the best part about these characters that we've seen in the Bloodline. You've seen a lot of growth with a lot of them. Sami Zayn specifically was the one who probably had the most growth. Roman Reigns' character probably had the most growth as well. Those guys being able to kind of grow in front of your eyes. I think with Solo, we need to see him kind of learn that it's not always maybe best to punch first. You might have to add a little bit of that cerebral element. You might need to lean a little bit more on your wise man, not just order him around and have him do things for you, because what's the point? So seeing some of that growth, I think, might be an interesting little piece that they add in and that we kind of get over the next 2 months. But this has the chance to be really, really good. And I think you're right. It's the sequel. We've already kind of seen them do this one time, and it was great. Are you going to be able to match those same heights? I don't think so, but can you get close? You damn sure could, because Paul Heyman's the one in charge. So it'll be really, really interesting to see what they end up doing here. I know we've got a lot to talk about as far as contracts, and we've got to talk about who WWE is going to be building around. We're going to be doing that in the news and notes. Was there anything else from WWE that you wanted to touch on before we moved to AEW?
Yeah, Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles segment was hot. I think they moved it along precisely, and now an I Quit match. It sucks because, AJ Styles is going to take another loss, and I don't want to see AJ Styles say I quit, but it's cool to see AJ Styles with Gallows and Anderson. It's always great. I know it's a tried and true, having security get in the way of everybody, but Cody Rhodes is pissed, and they played it up, and he got his revenge, and I thought it was great. SmackDown was really good, I thought.
SmackDown was really good. Let me throw this at you, because it's an I Quit match, and the only way you lose is by saying I quit. So you talk about AJ Styles taking another loss. There's a way AJ Styles could actually win but not actually lose, but he doesn't actually get the title. Gallows and Anderson get involved, and they just end up knocking Cody Rhodes out. Cody Rhodes can't say I quit. The match has to be called off. AJ Styles technically wins, but he doesn't actually win the match because Cody Rhodes didn't say I quit. So that's one way that they could book it, where you keep AJ strong, you end up coming back to this feud again and having them have another match at SummerSlam. So just think about that. Okay. That's one way to book it. And we're basically a week out from booking these matches the way we want them to finish on the card. We're going to talk about a lot of that next week, but just think about that. That's one way that they could do it. Just putting it out there.
No doubt. I think it's very interesting in regards to how potentially they could extend this feud or have AJ Styles just look really strong and used to elevate Cody. And I think it's good. This continuation of this feud with Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles has the potential to be really special.
Yeah, absolutely it does. And like you said, SmackDown was a really, really good show this week. Something that I don't think was as good. I mean, it feels a little underwhelming. MJF comes back, and I want to talk about his promo in a little bit because he was basically an assassin and locked on everybody and took everybody out, and I thought it was fantastic. But MJF comes back, and his first feud is against Roosh. This is basically the king of AEW, right? This is the guy. Like, AEW has been underwhelming, to say the least, with MJF on the shelf rehabbing. MJF comes back at the pay-per-view. It's the most talk about moment of that pay-per-view besides a guy getting set on fire. MJF comes back to Dynamite, and honestly, it was the thing that probably held your attention the most. It was honestly the best thing on the show, and it was within the first 10 minutes of the programming. But he instantly jumps into a feud with Roosh, and I don't know where we're going with this. I don't know what we're pulling from with this. Like, MJF returns. I feel like Adam Cole should be the guy he's feuding with, or guys from Adam Cole's faction is who he should be feuding with, because Adam Cole was the guy who cost him his championship. Adam Cole was the guy who basically stabbed him in the back. Instead, we're going with Roosh, and I don't know what history we're pulling from here. The fact that MJF tried to get Roosh to beat somebody up for him one time, like, that's what we're going with. It didn't make any sense to me. I don't understand how we're getting here. I get it. Roosh wants to fight somebody. Cool. I don't know if you deserve to fight MJF right now. I mean, I'm just being honest. Like, Roosh has not been put in a position where he's a main guy, a top guy. And I get all the top guys are kind of in other feuds right now. But I feel like you could have MJF starting with guys that are in Adam Cole's faction and starting to pick them off one by one. You know, you could have MJF. I don't know, where's Wardlow been? Is Wardlow still hurt? Is Wardlow hurt? What's going on with Wardlow? I haven't seen Wardlow on TV in what has felt like months to years at this moment in time. You could have him call out Wardlow, get into a fight with Wardlow. You could have him get into a fight with Roderick Strong. You could have him get into a fight with Matt Taven and the other guy. Damn it, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Shoot. But you could have him get into a fight with those guys and just kind of start brawling his way through that faction until he gets to the main boss, who is supposed to be Adam Cole, which, honestly, at this moment in time, I don't even know if Adam Cole is going to ever be able to wrestle again. His foot might be that broken where he can't ever wrestle again. Him and Britt Baker both might be on the shelf forever. I don't know. I have no idea. But that's the direction I would go. Roosh, to me, kind of feels like you had names on a spinning wheel, and you're like, all right, well, MJF's coming back. Who does he take? Roosh. All right, cool. Roosh, you're going to go out there, and you're going to interrupt his promo. I don't know. To me, it doesn't work. I want to get your take on whether this is as underwhelming as I feel like it is, especially for a guy who is AEW and MJF. Or are you okay with this being the first feud for MJF? This is just a little bit of a filler feud. It gets his feet wet, gets him back in the action. Where are you at with this?
I agree with everything that you said. I have no interest. It was like, okay, Roosh barely speaks English properly, so him trying to get angry kind of came off as a little bit funny, a little bit more comical.
Yeah, it was not good.
It was a little comical. But look, anybody that MJF feuds with is going to be great because he's going to talk a bunch of shit, and it was great the way in which he had his retort against Roosh. Yeah, it's just, here's the problem. if you're going to put Roosh out there, he is so below mid-card that there's no interest level. Like, okay, MJF's going to win. He's going to move on. So how is Roosh going to benefit from this? He has to maybe do some things and have some segments. Maybe this is the first go-round where he has now an opportunity to get his name out there. But you're right. Everything you said is accurate. MJF should be in the top stuff no matter what. He should be in the face of Swerve. He should be in the face of Jon Moxley. He should be back and talking shit about Adam Cole. Roosh is kind of like, basically back in the day, we'd wake up and we see superstars and two guys would be fighting. But Tony Khan tweeted, "I book wrestling for freaks." I don't know which freaks want to see this, but we'll see it. Let's see if they can make it interesting. But you're right. It's not something that any of us believe would be of the caliber of the star that MJF is. But hey, they're going with it. Let's see how it develops.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you could give MJF a dirty diaper and he'll spit shine those turds and turn them into gold. So it'll probably be really good. I'm just really not sure where we're going with this. The one thing I did love about it, like I said, the promo I thought was fantastic. MJF comes out and he just starts locking on everybody that he has issues with. Everybody who is basically in that main event scene, everybody who is elevated up that card, he called them out one by one. Anyone from Swerve Strickland to Captain Bruv himself to Adam Cole, everybody. He called everybody out. You even got a Cody Rhodes mention in there, which I thought was great. Crowd popped hard for that. What did you think of his promo? Because it was classic MJF, and it was one of those things that got me locked back in with this guy.
Yeah, it's double-edged because he's so much better than everybody else. It just kind of, at the same token, takes him up a notch, but then it always reminds you that not that many people are great on the mic.
Brings everybody else down.
Yeah, it brings everybody else down. Like, why can't you have a little intensity? Why can't you have more zingers? Why can't you have a fire promo a little bit more intense? But you can't have everybody out there having their veins pop out, but he's just so quick-witted. But at the same token, he's also got to step it up too, because talking trash is great, but I think he can evolve too and just let everybody know why he's going to beat everybody, why he's the best. But, the angle of I'm just going to shit on everybody can get old too as well. But he's great on the mic because he's so intense and you want to pay attention to it. But he's got to evolve as well because it's the same thing over and over. I'm going to crap on you, make fun of you, say all the things that are going to... I would say, you know what? I think that he could just say one thing about somebody else and just say the rest about himself. I'm the best. I'm great. Look at what I can do. Here's why, you guys are paying attention right now. Here's why the ratings are going up. Make it all about himself. And that's another way. I thought the crowd reactions were great. But, to me, with MJF, kind of like how Kenny has said it, is that, if you've seen one promo, you've kind of heard the rest. It's kind of similar. But at the same token, it is entertaining. You do want to pay attention. You don't want to miss it. But I think he needs to take his promo game to the next level, too, because with a guy like that, the sky's the limit. He can take things to the highest level possible of promo where you can get interested and invested. And just ripping on other people, I just think is kind of an easy way out.
Yeah, it does sometimes feel a little bit one note where he's just kind of taking shots at people. He's not really saying a whole lot. He's just kind of making fun. And I mean, you kind of got a little bit of that in this promo. So I totally get it. And you're right. He does need to evolve a little bit. He needs to add something else to his repertoire. He's got to come back with just a little bit of a tweak. Whenever you go away for these extended periods, it's always best when you come back with just a little bit extra to kind of help carry you through and kind of make you a little bit different. Gives us a reason to remember why we missed you so much. So I think he'll figure it out. I think he'll be fine. I do want to know, would you ever tattoo a company's name on your leg? Because this guy tattooed AEW on his leg.
For $6 million a year, I'd probably tattoo anything on my right ankle. It's funny, too, in that I think that MJF, if you really think about it, he could elevate himself by going to WWE, but it kind of feels like he's undersized in regards to the big boy league. And I just think that he could be a massive fish in AEW. Whereas in WWE, maybe he could be packaged like Braun Breaker, but at the same token, I just think that he needs to develop further. I don't know if he would. The big question mark would be, would he look great across from Cody Rhodes in WWE? Maybe with his size now and things like that. But the way he is, his size and stature, I just think that maybe it's AJ Styles and things like that. Shorter guys can get run, but I think that the next few years, I'm sure he signed for 3 to 5 years, so he won't hit WWE until his 30s. So. I just think that the opportunity could be there, but I think now the work that he's going to do is to continue his promos, stay healthy, have great matches, and be a megastar of AEW for the time being.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. Before we get into some news and notes, I'm going to work you into this because there's a lot of stuff and I've got a lot of questions for you. What was your show of the week?
I thought SmackDown was the show of the week. Raw was decent in terms of flow and matches and things like that. Sheamus, I think, is getting a lot of good attention, good segments that draw your attention. Everything with Ricochet is always intriguing, Chad Gable. But I thought SmackDown with Cody Rhodes and everything that went down on that 2-hour block was solid, and I thought that it earned the show of the week.
I agree with you. I think SmackDown was the show of the week. I thought it was better than Dynamite, better than Raw. If you've got 2 hours to kill, I would recommend watching SmackDown this week. All right, let's jump into news and notes here. WWE may have its newest star to build around. According to WrestleVotes, Braun Breaker is viewed as the next WWE centerpiece like John Cena or Roman Reigns. WrestleVotes wrote on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, I'm told WWE has considerably altered its creative plans for Braun Breaker. The second-generation superstar has impressed many higher-ups in his short stint on Raw. A source states Breaker is slated to be a major focus heading into the Netflix era, which will take place basically the beginning of next year, 2025. I believe January 1st. I have to look at the dates. It's going to be like right at the end of December, right at the beginning of January. We talked about it in a couple shows before. With his age, speed, look, and pedigree, this rare combination of talent isn't to be overlooked, said one source. Breaker has widely successful tenure in WWE's NXT and was moved up to the main roster in February, initially on SmackDown, and then later drafted to Raw in the 2024 WWE Draft 2 months later. I guess my question to you is Braun Breaker the guy? Is he the guy to build around? Do you see a John Cena-esque quality or a Roman Reigns-esque quality to Braun Breaker? And can you build your company around him like WWE has built around superstars in the past?
Yeah, he's got the look, size, speed. His tan's got to get worked on consistently, but I think that he's got the total package, and I think people can see it because he's got the look. It reminds you of Scott Steiner. It reminds you of his dad. It reminds you of the old school Bulldog era, Hercules Hernandez. So you push him to the moon, you'll have success. He's already been established by a lot of people through his runs with NXT, so he looks the part. He looks like a badass. So it's not going to be tough to sell Braun Breaker, and it's just one of those things, and people say it all the time. People maybe not as talented on the mic, in the ring, but sometimes you look at the character and you're like, he has it. And Braun Breaker has it. He knows he's from the lineage. Holler if you hear me. Braun Breaker is the man, and he's going to be pushed to the moon. And he's probably going to deliver a lot of great matches moving forward.
Yeah, this is Rick Steiner's son. This is Scott Steiner's nephew. This guy has the pedigree, like you said. They built NXT around him when he was in NXT. He was the main focus. He was the main guy. He is a guy who has the intensity of a Brock Lesnar. He has the freakish athletic ability of guys like Ricochet, Braun Strowman. You kind of roll them all into one. He is a guy who is charismatic and has the ability to grab your attention like a Cody Rhodes. He has the total package. He is the guy. It'll be interesting to see how they book him because right now, the way they've got him being booked, he seems like he's a little bit of a loose cannon. He seems as though he is a bit of a guy who's here to demolish stuff, and he's going to break you to get his way. I really like them to add a little bit of texture to his character, really add a little bit of depth to him. They've got time to do that because, again, Netflix era doesn't start till end of December, beginning of January. So we've got some time there. But I think he is a guy that you can definitely build around. Now, AEW has a lot of interest in this WWE star. Chad Gable's contract with WWE was set to expire on this past Friday on June 7th, 2024. However, he's still booked for Clash at the Castle on June 15th with technically no new contract signed. There's no reports of a new contract being signed. Now, per Dave Meltzer of Wrestling Observer, both AEW and WWE have interest in Gable. The only thing we've heard is that WWE has made an excellent offer to keep him. AEW is not allowed legally to make an offer until his WWE deal expires. He does have key people in AEW pushing him to Tony Khan. Gable would have to allow his contract to expire to get an offer. He's also in the middle of the best singles push of his career right now. He's fighting for that Intercontinental Championship against Sami Zayn. Reports are also that Natayla has not signed a new contract, and hers is set to expire incredibly soon. Do you see AEW being a place where these wrestlers could ascend to that new height and be wrestlers that are elevated above where they currently are in WWE? Would AEW give them that opportunity?
Yeah, I would think, why not? Do you see any potential cons? I don't see any at this point in time.
Yeah, I see a lot, actually. Natalya, maybe not so much. Natalya could probably go over to AEW and she could be utilized a little bit better. I think Chad Gable, I think this new version of WWE, this Triple H booked version of WWE is probably the best place for him. I feel like Tony Khan gets new toys and he plays with his new toys for a couple of weeks, and then he discards them. They go right back in the bin, and then Tony Khan goes right back to his favorite toys. It's something that we talked about, maybe a week ago, 2 weeks ago. Everybody in AEW is basically in the same spot they were 5 years ago. Nobody's really been elevated. Unless Chad Gable's coming in and he's going to be a main event guy, and Tony Khan sees him as a main event guy, he'll never get to that level. I think right now, where he's at doing what he's doing, is probably going to be some of the best stuff of his career, and I think he can ascend higher in WWE than he could in AEW. Natalya, on the other hand, she could go to AEW, and she could be a centerpiece. They've already do stuff with the Owen Hart Classic. Yep. She could be one of those. She could be a transformative wrestler in AEW if she went there.
Okay, so here's the challenge that I see, and here's the part that's interesting and intriguing when you look at it in totality. Chad Gable's been a superstar. And it feels like at some points, it's the Drew McIntyre rule. It's the Cody Rhodes rule, where at some point in the company, you end up being, okay, he's a mid-carder. And you get good ideas, but not the best ideas. You get good writing, not the best writing. For a time period, even if Chad Gable goes and has 3 matches that are great, one against MJF, one against Danielson, one against Moxley, the opportunity that he has, it's like a gamble. You're at the table, you have a chance, and if you get the attention and you have those great matches, you create classics, then in WWE's eyes, now you maybe have another negotiating ploy where when you come back as Drew McIntyre, you're not in some 3-person band or a 3-person group. You're an individual. You're somebody important. And I think WWE kind of likes that. I think at some point Triple H understands that philosophy. He was at WCW, and it was a horrible situation. Goes into WWE and establishes himself, has kind of a corny elite gimmick before he becomes the cerebral assassin, the Game. So for Chad Gable, I think that he's peaked in his run with WWE. I think he could have a better opportunity, a better schedule, and he could get the light shown on him for at least a year. And hey, if you get in the ring with MJF, people are going to know that the stuff that's going to happen is going to be very intriguing. So I would do it. For Natalya, it's kind of the same thing where she's going to be at the same points in her career. She's a legend, but she needs to have fresh matches. I think both of them should go, and Chad Gable, I think, should take advantage of the benefit because he'd have the opportunity to come back and be a little bit more in line with somebody that could be an Intercontinental Champion. Like right now, if you gave the belt to Chad Gable as an Intercontinental Champion, it felt like charity. And that's why guys like him, The Miz, they all should go to AEW and try something new, you know? But at the same token, if he does end up staying with WWE, he'll get a lot of money and he'll have a lot of respect and a lot of good things. So Chad Gable's got the world at his oyster. But I think for his career, in terms of the trajectory to where he could reach his biggest potential, it would be to leave, get over somewhere else, and then come back where you can negotiate a nice 3-year deal, maybe some less dates, a lot of high-end merchandise monies and opportunities. He's already there. It's kind of like one of those things is, do you want to win matches and titles, or do you want a lot of money and just be on TV every week? I kind of at some point would want to push, and I'd take less money. I would be like, wait a minute, okay, let's say the average contract in WWE is $400K. Okay, let's say you're going to pay me $300K, but I win more, and I'm on TV once a week, and I don't have to travel all that much. That sounds appealing, where I could say, hey, I could get the Cody Rhodes treatment and say, look, Tony, in the next year, I only want to lose like 2 matches. I want to go like 16-2. I want to have at least a nice record. I want to win at least half of your 25 titles. I want to be the Continental Champion, the TNT Champion. I want to be a part of a trios. I want to have a Ring of Honor, 4 of the Ring of Honor belts. I want to own some belts. I want to walk out to the ring, half of my run in your company with some belts. And Tony's going to be like, yeah, but we got like 30 of them. He's going to be like, yeah, I want half of them. So give them to me. You know what I mean? So I think the opportunity for Chad Gable to take advantage would be better in AEW. I think that's where it's crazy that AEW is kind of looked at like that. Yeah, he probably won't be a megastar in AEW. They don't do that. But I think that he could come back and catch the eyes of the WWE world in a new light where they could say, wait a minute. This guy put in some work and had some matches. Maybe we could give him a year run with the Intercontinental title instead of being the squash boy for Sami Zayn and Gunther.
Yeah, and speaking of extra titles, don't be surprised if we go with these intergender tag titles for AEW here coming up very, very soon.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. And look, it would be Willow and it would be Orange Cassidy winning them first.
Yeah,
so don't be surprised if that's where we end up.
And then
hey, look, I know I like what you're saying, and I agree with you.
Yeah, before you thought, one quick rant, please, one company. I mean, there is a title that has lineage, it has a good name, and has a purpose. Please, Triple H. I mean, I might start sending emails. Bring back the television title. It's simple. The WCW television title was the title that we all kind of knew. I associated with Mark Marrow. I associated with kind of that next level guy that's not Intercontinental worthy, but a guy that could be on TV, and it was cool. The WCW television title was amongst my favorite belts. Please, someone bring it back. I don't need a Continental belt. I don't need a Trios belt. I definitely, when the talk happened, I don't care about intergender title belts. I don't care about the women's tag team belts. Please, bring back the television title. It means a lot. It could look very cool in this new day and age. Maybe AEW does it. Maybe WWE does it. But I need a television title. And it always sounded cool when the announcer did it. The WCW World Television title always had prestige. I always watched those matches.
Yeah, it was one of those things where you got to see it every single week. Like that was the working man's title. It was great. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. I like what you're saying about Chad Gable betting on himself and basically rolling the dice, going someplace else, and then maybe coming back. I just don't know if that works. Look, Chad Gable has a couple things going against him, right? The guy has an incredible physique. Looks like he is chiseled out of granite. He's great on the microphone. The guy can do everything and anything in a wrestling ring. He is fantastic. His height's a bit of a problem. Yeah. But we talked about this stature wall in WWE. I watched Johnny Gargano come out on Friday night, and I was like, man, I always felt like he could be more. Him and Tommaso Ciampa, I always felt like they could be higher up the card than what they are. And Johnny Gargano is fantastic in the ring, but I'm bored with his matches. I'm kind of bored with him. Chad Gable, I'm not bored with, but I just don't feel like WWE sees him maybe in that role because he's a little bit shorter than a guy like AJ Styles. Yep. You know what I'm saying? And I kind of feel like AJ Styles is kind of that cutoff for that main event scene. You're not 6'4". You're not getting the rub that you probably should be getting. I feel like Chad Gable stays where he's at and they continue to develop this. And look, you've seen it before. The fans can get behind a wrestler and force booking's hand and change creative. They've done it. Done it in WWE. You've seen it as recent as this last WrestleMania. So if Gable continues to do what he's doing and keeps the crowd behind him, because I do feel like he gets a good reception when he's on television, I feel like there's a lot that could come his way. It'll be interesting to see what takes place and see kind of where we go with that. One final thing before we get out of here. Again, talent exchanges go both ways. We talked about WWE looking. We talked about AEW looking. AEW's Penta El Zero Miedo is reportedly exploring options as his contract comes to a close. and he might be looking at WWE because there's rumor that there is interest there. Penta's contract is set to expire between August and September of 2024. Dave Meltzer provided this in the Wrestling Observer. Penta was unhappy sometime back when he wasn't allowed to on shows with CMLL talent, but to a degree that looks like that's been worked out. Tony Khan indicated he was confident Penta would stay with the promotion. Others have said Penta was looking at buying the rights to his name to make sure he could take the gimmick to WWE if necessary. The belief in other circles is Penta is looking to explore his options when his current deal expires. Penta, El Zero Mero, and Rey Fenix signed with AEW in early 2019 and have gone on to hold the AEW World Tag Team Championships together and World Trio Championships together with Pac. Penta is a former AAA World Tag Team Champion, again with Rey Fenix, and continues to work for the company following his 2018 return. Would Penta be more successful in WWE, or should he maybe stay in AEW?
Man, Penta, I think he could be packaged as a star, and the matches that he could have would be great. But you kind of feel like you need Rey Fenix there too, kind of the guy that the yin to his yang. I feel like you need both. But I think that for Penta, perfect scenario where you've reached a certain point in AEW. Now you could become a megastar and you can do the WrestleMania scene and get over and have a lot of good matches with a lot of good people. Again, television title or a cruiserweight title, a title for guys that are kind of known under 250 or under 225. I think that you don't give them their own show. You just have, dude. I'm surprised with Triple H's love of history. You need to have a cruiserweight belt. I mean, I think it would be great. Chad Gable. I don't think it was always tough because Eddie Guerrero, Chris Jericho would have it, but kind of like those mid card guys that need a run with a title as well. So at the same token, a guy like Penta would have some nice feuds with maybe the LWO and early opportunities there, or with Andrade. So I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I think he could be incredibly successful in WWE. The one thing I could see holding him back, the lack of being able to cut a promo in English. WWE has tried to navigate this a little bit with some of their Japanese stars. You've seen the subtitles being used for Nakamura, for Io Sky, and that to a degree is successful. I think when it comes to Mexican or Hispanic wrestlers, WWE still has this problem where they kind of lump them all into the same category, and they kind of do these same things with them all the time. If you were on Twitter at all, you got another very angry Andrade basically talking about how WWE always has Mexican wrestlers fighting Mexican wrestlers and doesn't really do anything else with them. I think it's just Andrade being upset again because he's constantly upset. But there, I think, is a little bit of truth to the way WWE sees a certain style of wrestling and sees certain wrestlers. So I feel like he could be incredibly successful in WWE because his presentation, his gimmick, his look, his ability in the ring, it's all fantastic. And I feel like WWE could really hit the multiplier on all of that and really help accentuate everything good that he does. But I think the lack of promo ability will be the one thing that really tripped him up and would be difficult. So unless he's going and unless he's taking Alex Alejandro or whatever the guy's name who does the promos for him, I don't know how successful it is. I don't know if it would be that successful. I almost feel like he would be great if you had like a Scary Sherry type of mouthpiece for him, where he could basically say a couple of things, but she did all of the talking, and she looked kind of crazy like she used to look in the crazy makeup, and they looked almost sinister. I think that would be fantastic, and he would be packaged so well. But I could see him being huge in WWE, but I could also see him falling flat on his face because WWE wouldn't know what to necessarily do with him or how to book him. So that would be my concern for him. So I'm going to kind of take the easy way out, and I'm going to kind of punt on this. I'm going to say maybe stay with AEW because things are really good for you there. I feel like WWE could be great, but again, right here, this is one of those things where he would have to bet on himself. Scared money don't make money. So if you bet on yourself, go to WWE and let's see what happens. So there you go. That's going to do it for this week's wrestling news and notes. I thought this was a really good show, man. This was a lot of fun.
Absolutely, man. Always enjoy talking about the world of wrestling. Make sure you follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. If you've agreed or disagreed with anything that we've said today, hit us up, message us at Detroit Podcast. We'll read it and interact and engage with your content. We love the world of professional wrestling. And next week, like you said, go home shows and opportunities where there's going to be a Clash at the Castle Saturday. So look for the next episode of the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast next Saturday. I look forward to recording it with my guy, Adam, the Jock Strozinski. Can't wait to see everybody next week.